Hello everyone and welcome to another webinar by Royal Cyber. Today we brought another interesting topic for our audience, and that is strategies to migrate IBM API Connect version 5 to version 10 seamlessly. Now let's have a quick glance at the agenda today. We will talk about what's going on with API Connect version 5, what are the migration options available, what's new is available in API Connect version 10, what sort of migration challenges could occur, and last but not least, successful migration strategies followed by question and answer session. Now, before we jump into the presentation, I'd like to talk briefly about Royal Cyber. Royal Cyber is a globally recognized award-winning technology partner that is helping organizations transform their digital journeys for over 2 decades now. We've got 1,200 plus employees globally with offices in 5 continents and more than 600 plus happy customers. Now, my name is Ali, and I am the Technical Account Manager at Royal Cyber. And with me here is one of my great colleague and a knowledgeable speaker, Mr. Kevin Obongo, who is the Solution Architect at IBM Middleware. And he's going to walk you through all the technical details related to migrating the strategies from API Connect version 5 to version 10. Now, as you already know that IBM API Connect version 5 end of support is approaching, and that is in the current year and ends at April 30th, 2022. So one of the important facts that we need to understand is that as it is approaching, we need to plan and upgrade version 10 migration quickly and move as early as possible so that we can realize the new innovations available in version 2010. We would need to understand the resource availability and understand how to connect and engage during this process. And in this presentation, we will cover all of these aspects. Now, with this, IBM API Connect version 2018 end of life support is approaching as well, which is going to be a year later from now in the same month. So the unprecedented facts should also be noticed that we almost have 12 months remaining now, and we should plan to move this migration at the earliest. There has to be a resource availability for which we will talk about that how Royal Cyber is going to help and how do we connect and engage. Now, without the delay further, I will hand this over to Mr. Kevin, and Kevin is going to walk you through all the technical details along with the resource availability and how do we connect and engage. So over to you, Kevin. Thank you.
Once again, hello to everyone. We are glad that you found time to join us for this webinar, migrating V5 to V10 API Connect. So I'm going to take you through the remainder of the section, and the first one I'm going to start with is the migration options. So if you are still running on V5, you can migrate to 2018, or you can directly migrate to V10. However, 2018 is also coming out of support in there about 1 year or so. So it is highly recommended that you directly migrate to V10, sorry, if you are still running on V10. So that migration, there's a tool that is available, and it has been available for a while. It's called API Connect Migration Utility. So this is a command line utility. You can run it on your Mac, Windows, or Linux client. And what the tool does, it does not directly connect to your V5 systems. It works with export-import kind of. So you export the artifacts from V5, then use the tool to import them over to V10. So with this tool, AMU, you can also automatically convert your APIs to V10 gateway V10 gateway compatible, meaning that if there are certain APIs that you wrote on V5 and they are running on V5 compatible gateway and you need to move them to V10, then this tool can automatically help you do that. So moving on to the next slide. So before we start migrating, we're gonna just take a quick look at why we need to migrate to V10. What are the benefits or the new features that you're going to see on V10? So every new release of API Connect from version 4, V5 all the way to V10, there are always new features that come with it. And in this chart that is currently showing, we see that the features that are checked on the V10 column are all missing on the V5. So talking about GraphQL support, microservices, etc., you see that V10 has more features than either V5 and V2018. And all those benefits you can only enjoy once you migrate to V10. A couple of slides that I'll go through into detail some of the new features that that are available on V10. So the first one is V10 is modern and cloud native. So currently most companies have data in both on-premise and on-cloud, and it is critical for any API management solution to be flexible enough to support such kind of workload. So with V5, remember it was largely on-premise VMware based, but with V10 it is modern and cloud native based on Kubernetes, and so you enjoy those benefits of running it as a microservice. So moving on to the next slide. You also have the flexibility to choose your deployment model. You can either choose to run it on IBM Cloud Pak for integration. You can choose to run it on standalone IBM API Connect, or you can provision a reserved instance in as a managed single tenant in IBM Cloud. So V10 accelerates how quickly businesses can achieve their API innovation objectives and embrace new event-driven pattern across multi-cloud architectures. It has got the support for GraphQL endpoints, and we will discuss more details about GraphQL endpoints in our next slide. There is automated API behavior testing. So what happens is that V10 automates the creation of test cases based on semantics of the API, and this intelligent feature can accelerate the team's ability to build robust measurements, leading to faster development cycles and overall greater trust in API development cycle. It also got extended support for high resiliency and disaster recovery patterns. Okay. Moving on and talking specifically to GraphQL. So GraphQL is a query language for APIs that gives the application client greater control over data it retrieves from an API request compared to REST. So an example, if there's a banking API, for example, and you only need account balance and account numbers, you can only get that. But if you are using a REST service, then you might need to pull all the data and then do some filters from the client side, and that results into you having to retrieve some unwanted information. What you are also capable of doing with GraphQL is that the application client can retrieve multiple related resources in a single request. So in my example, for example, the example I gave earlier, is a customer bank account record must have multiple arrays that reference to each other, and from a single call to a GraphQL, you retrieve all that information at once. So it also has the benefits around rate limiting, because if you are using a RESTful endpoint, then you will have to make multiple calls. But with GraphQL, you tend to make lesser calls to the backend. There's also automated API testing behavior. So V10 automates the creation, like I mentioned earlier, creation of test cases. So with a single click of the button from the UI, you can automatically generate your test cases for your APIs. And after automation, so the users can leverage the no-code Visual Composer to further extend these test cases. The other benefits is that these test cases can be integrated with CI/CD, and so you can also trigger them from whatever CI/CD tool you are using. So this is a nice UI of API Connect test case and debug. It is simple to use, and from it you can see that from every steps of your assembly, this API you can be able to debug and test. So many organizations now leverage what we call event-driven architectures, and API Connect V10 comes with IBM Data Power V10 as well, that has direct integration to some of these technologies, including Kafka and AMQP. So with these integrations and these features, you are provided with a unified means to enforce security policies across all your microservices and event-based workloads. This will enable your organizations to bridge between different protocols and enabling them to accelerate delivery of new solutions without modifying the existing applications. So there's also improved resiliency and continuous availability. So V10 comes with improved security. We are talking of support for TLS 1.3, but there's also still support for 1.3 for backward compatibility in that case. There's improved productivity and modern user experience across IBM Cloud Pak for integration. So there's the simple and enhanced user experience. So it's you'd quickly access whatever resource you need, and you can easily find your way across. And like I mentioned earlier, there's a consistent user experience across all Cloud Pak for integration and IBM product portfolios. So API Connect brings productivity benefits across teams. So a team would have API developer, product manager, API consumer, DevOps, and IT architecture. So all these, all these roles, benefits greatly with V10. I'll just mention a few. For example, developers can increase productivity by consistently building high-quality APIs, like the features I mentioned earlier. A product manager, enhance the trust with an API consumer through service level agreements and enforcing required compliances. API consumers, they go to accelerate use of data and processes to build new applications. DevOps, this can help them to streamline their operations across multi-cloud and hybrid cloud landscape. And for an IT architecture, it it will help him to design and secure responsive solutions with event-based technologies. So moving on to some of the experiences that we have had, some of the migration challenges and some of the best practices that we want to suggest. You want to move on. So the first point to note is that the first point to note is that V10 developer portal customizations are not migrated. Okay, so if you did your customizations on your developer portal, then those ones will not be on V5. Sorry, then those ones will not be migrated to V10. Okay, so you need to plan accordingly. To have to achieve those across over to V10. The second point is keep your backups. If something goes wrong, then you have something to fall back to. So before attempting any migration, be sure that you have your backup for at least for your V10 instances. It's always a good idea to test in a pre-prod or test environment before carrying out the actual migration. This can help you discover any issues that might occur when you do the actual migration in a production environment. So it's advisable to test it out first. Keep an eye on the command outputs. Yeah, so tech people sometimes they run commands without taking keen notice on the output. Check the logs, the warnings, the errors that are shown, and try to resolve them accordingly. And document any decisions that you make in your planning. This is important for for posterity, and to assist on other people trying to find out what you are trying to do. And then another point to note is that analytics data is not migrated by AMU tool. So you get to make your own arrangements to if you need to migrate them, then you need to make your own arrangements to do that. Then any transient data, if you had any pending invitations, lifecycle subscriptions and approval etc in V5 source system, then those will not be migrated. Okay, and in fact, when anything you do after you do the extract will not be actually migrated into V10. So moving along onto some of the successful migration strategies. So to help everyone learn and plan to migrate to V10, IBM have launched a brand new site called API Connect Upgrade Central. So this is your single point of truth, like we normally refer to it. So this site brings together information across all sources and all the links that you need. So I've shown the links there, so please take your time to go there and interact and see whatever information that you are required to do. But in a typical migration, there are 4 phases that you'll have to go through. So the first one is you get to familiarize yourself with what you need to do, whatever the requirements you need to put in place. Then you decide on what form factor of V5 you want to go with. And then the third step would be the actual planning, where you do your more technical documentation and understanding the tasks. And then the last step would be the actual migration, which you will do after you install and configure the target environment, which is V10 in this case. So moving on, actual migration largely involves 3 steps. That is in the final steps now there are a sub 3 steps. the first steps you have to do is to install your target V10 system. Okay, so you got to have a running version 10 environment, and take backup of that environment. Okay, and then the second thing you'll have to do is extract your V5 data using the AMU tool. And after you extract, you go through you get an archive, execute a few commands, and then this archive is what you'll use to import to V10. Okay, so down in my slide I've just shown the sample command that we use to extract your V5 contents that you need to migrate. It needs access to SFTP server, and then just make sure that the file that you extract in is in tar format. Okay. Okay, so I'll move to the next step. So the first step is extract V5 data, and the second step is now unpack and map. Okay, so once you extract, you get once you extract your V5 data, you get a tar file, and when you untie it, you basically come up with a folder structure that the one shown. So you need to copy the extract to your new system. Now from the system that you intend to run the migration, you now upload and download the extract that we did in the first step. Okay, so in this second step, you're going to unpack the DB extract. Now there's the developer portal user registry. So if you are using that feature, then you need an additional extract. But what I'm explaining is doing unpacking without PDRU, developer portal user registry. And the command is shown down there. You can extract everything, or you can just choose to extract either a provider organization, which you'll have to provide extra options like -- you give the organization name. Okay, so we have done two steps. You have extracted your data, you have unpacked it. Port is not mandatory, so I'll skip it in this step, but I'll explain it in my last slide. So just to mention about it is that if there are further customizations that you need to do, especially when you are moving gateways from V5 compatible to V10, then you have to you have to run that step for ports. However, if that is not one of your requirements, or that is not what you seek to do, then you can move to the fourth step, which is validate and push. Okay, so here what happens is, after you have unpacked and transformed your archive, then you now push it to your target V10 system. So before you run those commands down there, all these commands are available within AMU tool. You log into your V10 system, and then you do archive push. Then it will push all those artifacts to V10. It is good practice to run a dry run, so that you get a feel of the response of what will happen when you actually run it. You can run it as many times as you can, or as you want. Okay, so if something goes wrong along the way, you can basically come back and start run the command again. But like I mentioned earlier, take note of the output of those commands of warnings and errors. Anything that comes up, please pay attention and resolve accordingly. Okay, and then the last step will be test your migration. Make sure that everything went fine. So you want to log into your API manager, check your organization, check your APIs that they have all been migrated, and test that everything is okay. Now there are certain instances, certain scenarios that you want to increase performance, or you want to take advantage of the new gateway features. Then that requires that you change your artifacts, your gateway from V5 compatible to V10. So this requires an additional step. So what you need to do here is convert your assembly to compatible, convert your assembly from V5 compatible to API gateway. And this is what we are going to look at in the next step, how this can be done. So within AMU, there's a command line utility called port-to-apigw command. So this is a command within the AMU that converts all your APIs, products, subscription, OAuth, custom policies into V10 native API gateway artifacts. And we will look at an example in my next slide. So these newly created artifacts, the good thing is that it will not override your existing. They will sit side by side with your V10 compatibility. So you can still use your V10 compatible, but the tool will automatically generate your V10 compatible artifacts. Okay. So what it does is it provides the assistance that is required. Something that you would have done manually. It now removes all that effort from you now. By just running this command, you get API artifacts that you can all in all run in V10 compatible gateway. So the command is simple. What you run is API is archive, API CM archive, colon and port to gateway and the path to the extracted files. This is an example of the output. So here I have one API that was converted. So API 03 was V5 compatible, but the converted version is API gateway -1.00 API YAML. So you see, or you notice that the one that is converted, there's some appended affix. Okay, and on the screenshot on the left is the V5, and on the right is the V10. So the change that has happened here is that you can see that on the left there was a proxy gateway assembly policy that was converted to proxy 1.50, and it also added for us additional comments of what it did. So it tells you exactly that the policy was changed from this to that in the comment section. So for your documentation and just understanding what happened, you get to have that side by side comparison, because the old artifacts still exist and you just get to use the new ones. Okay, so moving on, so we have looked at two migration paths. Okay, And there's the simple and the advanced. Okay, so simple is, if I start with the simple one, if you're looking to work with V5 compatible gateway service, okay, and you are looking to working on a simple, easy migration, performance improvement is not much of a requirement for you, then you don't require any modification on your API sources, then you'd want to go the simple path. Okay. But any advanced to those that I've mentioned, if you are looking to leverage on V10 API gateway service, if you're looking to improve significantly your performance and you are looking to do some porting changes, and then you need to modify your APIs, then you need to go the advanced path. So both the paths are applicable. However, the decision is yours on which one you wish to take, depending on the scenario that you are in or you're working on. So let's revisit the migration process once more. Like I said, it is 3 simple steps. You prepare, migrate, and verify. So preparation is basically you extract V5. Like we did mention, use mu tool, which does not connect directly to your V5. Extract those artifacts. And then if you need to do any conversion, if you want to use the V10 gateway, then do that. Then do the push command, the one we looked at. Then in the last step, you test and verify your APIs are working fine. Again, take note of any exceptions and errors, and follow the IBM documentation to to get them resolved. So we have had several customer success stories and feedback on V10 migrations, and some of those are mentioned on this slide. So we as Royal Cyber are here to assist if you are, if you need such migrations. Okay. So as Royal Cyber experts, like I mentioned on my previous slide, we can assist you in upgrading API Connect to V10. So basically we do it in 3 steps. We take an upgrade assessment. We sit down with you, we carry out workshops, we look at what you have and where you want to go, look at the requirements, and make a plan. And then the second step will be the actual installation and configuration of API Connect V10. So this is, we install the target environment. And, the last one would be, the actual migration now, where we now migrate, your artifacts from V5 to V10. Okay, so just talking to my last slide, yes, so we can assist, or we do assist in modernizing your API environment, by migrating them to the latest, like this case V10 API Connect version. We do assist in optimizing your environment through new API Connect productivity enhancing features, which will basically minimize potential migration impacts to existing services. Okay. So we as Royal Cyber experts are ready to help plan and migrate existing API Connect deployments to the latest API Connect version. So call to action. So V10 is ready and it has been here for a while now. So ensure that you are picking the latest, yeah, and we are looking forward for to assisting you in that migration journey. So feel free to reach out to us if you need any help along those lines. Just winding up is, we have a JumpStart package where it will run for a duration of 4 to 6 weeks, and it goes through the 3 steps that I mentioned. Okay, so there's a planning, implementation, and transition. So the planning is, we do the introduction, we do the assessment, and implementation involves installation and migration, and then transition is knowledge transfer and support services. So that's about it, and thank you very much for spending time to listen to me. I think now is the time for question and answers, and I will pause if there is any questions, then we will respond accordingly. But thank you very much for your time, and I'm really glad that that you are here with you. Thank you very much.